In this video, we can have a look to see how we can use advanced custom fields and Fluent Forms Pro. And what we're going to have a look to see is how we can pre-fill these fields, but also add a repeater field to our form. We're going to link that then to a total. So what that means is that I can select various options, and as I select them, the total price changes. To update the field, what I do is I update the advanced custom form fields, and these automatically then update the checkboxes using a repeater. So to show you how that works, I'm just going to scroll down. I've included a form here at the bottom of the page. So if I, for example, wanted to change the price of option 2 to 2,000 and here maybe to 3,000, I submit those for changing, and now you'll see that the prices have changed and that when I select the item, the total is adjusted accordingly. What I'm also able to do, for example, here is we have the product name, which is also the same as the post name. But let's say I'd like to change something about that. What I might want to do then is, in this case, I could simply copy that down here into the name, the product name, and add information. No, that's not spelled correctly. But you'll see here that that information is then passed through to the field, the product name. If I then decide that I don't want to use that, I can simply delete that value and it will now default back to the post title. I can also add options, so I can scroll down here and let's add option 9. And in this case, I'm going to change then the description there to the 9, and then I'm going to add a price of 900. And I'm going to submit those values, and now you'll see that that option has been added, and if I select, you'll see that the value is updated accordingly. So if I was going to submit this form and I selected those values, here I have more details about the option. So if I'd like to include more detail, I'll do that here. Now I've selected what I'd like. I click on the next button. It now takes me to the page of the form with my details, and I can then submit that form. Once I've submitted the form, I can view my email, and you'll see that in my email only the checkbox fields selected are displayed. The total here is the total price. There are my details, and then there is the final price field, as well as a link back to that particular page on the website. So that's how we can update the page. Here's another example. Here we have pretty much the same thing, and once again I can update. So the same form is used on every single product page. The values though are pulled in dynamically from the post, and I can do different things with that information. So to show you how that's set up, let's go and have a look at the plugins installed. So installed, we have Advanced Custom Fields Pro along with Advanced Custom Fields Extended, the free version. Then we have code snippets. We did create a custom post type for this particular demo, but you can also apply this to the standard post. We have Fluent Forms with Fluent Forms Pro, and then Oxygen for the theme. Let's just have a quick look then at the snippet. So here we have the input text. So this is where we're going to update just the input text. In this case, it's the title. So we have a custom field called a product name, but if there is no product name, then the product name is achieved by getting it from the title of the post. Then we have the filter for the input checkbox. So this is where we take the repeater from advanced custom fields, and there are the repeater values, and then we apply those to the input values for the checkbox field. And here we can even change the way that it looks. In this case, we've set the price to be at the end, but we could even swap that around and put the price at the beginning. So that, just to give you an idea, there's the label values and the value values. And then if we scroll down here, you'll see that we have the input number, and this is the price that we've used. So you'll see here that the price that we've used for the item, which is a custom post, an advanced custom field, the selling price, and that value is then passed to the field for the price. So if we refresh, you'll see here that the product name then is either the post title, or we pull that in here from the product name. Then we have the price field, and the price field then is pulled in from the advanced custom field for selling price. And then we have the repeater, and these values are then passed through to the checkbox fields in our form. And when we proceed to the next field, you'll see that the final price is just taken from the value of the total price field. So that's just to give you a summary of what you're in for if you're going to submit the form. So let's have a look and see. We're going to create this from scratch so you can see exactly how this is all put together, so you can create your own interactive form. The first thing that we'll do then is we'll create the custom post type, then we'll create the form, and then we'll create the snippets that link the information from advanced custom fields to the form. So let's head over to the back end, and the first thing I'm going to do then is create a custom post type. And the custom post type that I'm going to do is I'm just going to call it new product, just for testing. So here we are. So the plural label will be new products, and the singular label new product, and we'll just go with new product. And let's just scroll down here and update some settings. Base slug has an archive. Right, so there we have created our custom post type, and then we're just going to add the post type. And now you'll see on the left hand side that we have a thing called new products, and now let's add the custom field. So the custom fields that we want to add here, let's add a new, so it'll be new products, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a product name. Let's call it name, and let's just prefix everything that we do with the word new, so we know it belongs to this custom post. So that's the new product name, and then let's add a field for the price. So price, and let's make that a numerical field, so that's a number. And now we're going to add the repeater, and this is going to be product options, so we'll call that new product options, and this will be the repeater. So repeater, and let's come up here with the first one will be the option name. So new option name, just the text field. Then we're going to do a description. So let's go option description and prefix that with new. And let's make this a text area, so we can go a little bit bigger. And then we're going to do the option price, and we'll prefix that with new, and let's make this a number. Right, so there we have the repeater setup, and now what we need to do is assign these custom fields to a post type. So let's say post type is equal to a new product, and we're going to publish that. So now when we go and have a look at our new products and we add a new one, you'll see that we can add those custom fields to that post. So we're just waiting for that to load up here. Right, and you'll see if we scroll down, there we have the product name, the product price, and if I add a new row, you'll see that I can put in the option name, the option description, and the option price. So what I'm going to do is just create my first product. So we'll call this the first new product. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to leave that empty. I don't have to put anything in there. We'll make that 5,000, and then the option name, let's make that option 1. The description, and then the price, and we're going to publish that. Right, so we publish that, but of course there's going to be nothing to see on the front end because we don't have a template assigned yet to this particular post. So what I'm going to do now, though, before we get to that, is I'm going to go over to Fluent Forms, and I'm going to add a new form. So let's add a new form, and we'll just start off with a contact form, and let's call that, we'll call this new product form. Right, so let's rename that. And what I'm also going to do straight away is I'm going to add in the divider for the page. So we're going to create the form step. So everything after the form step will appear on page 2 in our form, and I'm going to move all the contact information onto the next page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to repurpose the subject field to the product name, and just copy that, make that product name, the placeholder product name, and under advanced options I'm going to call that product name. Right, that's the product name, and the next thing we need to do is add a field called the product price. So that for that I'm going to use a numerical field. So we have a look here for the number field, general fields, and numeric field, and I'm going to add that under the product name, and we're going to call that, let's call that the product price, and I'm going to copy that, put that in as the admin label, the placeholder, and then under advanced options I'm going to go here to name attributes, and I'm going to call that product price. And what I'm also going to do is say enable calculation. So that means that this will be used, or is available to be used in a calculation. The next thing I'm going to do is add another input field, and this time it will be the checkbox. And the checkbox adds at the bottom. I'm going to just move that up, and I'm going to call that product options. Product options, and admin field label. Under advanced options, then instead of checkbox, what we're going to do is we're going to call that product options. And what I'm also going to do is go back to the input customization, and I'm going to remove the last 2 items, and I'm also going to tick here on calc values so that this field can also be used in a calculation. And then I'm going to add another numeric field, and in this numeric field we're going to call it total. So we'll just copy that, total, and under the advanced options we will change that numeric field to total, and enable calculation, yes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add the product price with the product options to give us the total. So here under enable calculation there's a little drop down, and we're going to say product price. Product price will appear because we enabled it for calculation, and the other item that we're going to add is product options, and as we tick the options they'll automatically then be added to the total. So that's all that we need to do there, and we're going to save that form. And then what we're going to do is just put the final price on the last page. So that's just so that when you're on the last page filling in your details you know what the price was. and what we'll do then is we'll just call that the final price. Copy that, and what we'll do then is under advanced options we're going to call that final price, and we're also going to enable calculation, and this time we're just going to pull in the total price because it's just a duplication of the same value, so we won't have to do a formula there. So there we have it. So if we have a look at our form under preview and design, you'll see that we have item 1. So if I go 200, it'll add up there, and under product options I don't have any items with a value. So if I was to head back here and go to this item, make sure calc values, and I gave that a value of 200, save the form, and I went back to preview and design, you'd see now that if I tick that, the 200 would appear, and I add the 200 and the total is 400. If I go to the next page, you'll see that the final price already has the 400. So there we know that our form is working with the values on the form. Now what we need to do is set up the form to actually work on our website. So the next thing I'm going to do is now is create a template for the new products. So to do that, we head over to Oxygen, go over to templates, and we're going to say add new template, and let's go single new products, select the main, and now what we're going to do is say singular, scroll down, go to new products, and we're going to publish that. Then we're going to head over into Oxygen and set up the template. So let's head over to Oxygen. So Oxygen is busy loading. Now that Oxygen is loaded, let's create the template. So we'll add a section, and we'll add another section. And the first thing I'll do in the second section is add some columns. So on the left hand side we're going to have the information for the product, and on the right hand side we're going to have the form. So immediately then I can add to that so we're going to WordPress, then we're going to go to shortcode, and what I'm going to do is go back and get from Fluent Forms, as I'm just going to go in and get that ID of the form. So there's our new product form. Just click on that link, it copies automatically, and I'm going to drop that in here. And then what I'm going to do under advanced is I'm going to just set the size and spacing to 100% for width, just to make sure the form always renders the full width, and already it's putting through nicely. Then what I'm going to do at the top here is add the title. So under basics we'll go to the heading, and we'll just double click on that, and I'm going to insert the data, and there we're going to go with post title. So we'll insert the post title, and let's just center that on the page, and I'm just going to make that a whole lot smaller. We don't need such a bold font weight. So here we have our form on the right hand side, and over here is where we're going to have some information about the product. So what we'll do is we'll probably add a featured image. So we'll add an image, and for data we'll say featured image, and the size will be large. We still need to load the image, so that'll come in later. Then what we're going to do is add some text items. So here we'll add the price. So in this case what we might want to do is add the price, and then we actually want to add the price value. So add another text item, click on that, let's just do that again, and going to insert data, and we'll go to advanced custom field, and now what we're going to look for is the selling price. Now you'll see here we have a whole lot of fields and it's really confusing, so let's just go out of that, and what we're going to do is go back to our custom fields, and we'll go back to our field group, and you'll see now that we have the word new in front of our fields. So now what we can do is go and look for the new product price. So click on that, insert data, advanced custom fields, and now you want to look for the new. Unfortunately it's not pulling through the field name, but it's pulling through the title. So we need to look for product price, and in this case it would have been duplicated. So there's product price. So we'll insert that. Now we have inserted some data, so we'll see if that's correct. So if we look at our new product, and let's just go and have a look at the value that we've entered, and you'll see that if I scroll down on that post, that I think that the 5,000 was in fact the value that we added. So there we have the value, and then we have option 1. This is the description, and then the option price. So let's make this price a ridiculous one, so we can just pick that up on the other side. So now option 1, option description. So now we're going to add some more text. Add the text. What we're going to add now is the repeater. So let's make this then the product options heading, and then what we're going to do is add the repeater. So add, go to helpers, go to repeater, and this repeater is going to be advanced custom fields. Let's open up our structure panel, let's go to repeater, and what we'll do under query now is we'll change that to say use advanced custom fields, and it's going to be product options. And to check that, if we go into our field group, you'll see that we have the repeater and it's called product options. So now we know that it's product options, so we'll apply that, and now inside our repeater we're going to add the field. So we'll add the text field, and we'll call this will be the option name. So if we now go to insert data and we go to repeater field, drop down, we can go to option name. Let's add another text field, and this will be the option description. So same process, insert data, repeater field, and option description, and then we'll add the last one, which will be the price, and then we'll insert data, repeater field, and the option price. Right, so there we have the various items, and now what we need to do is just move this around so that it's easier to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the first text item in a div, and then I'm going to move the description up. So now we have the option name, the option description, and now I'm going to wrap the price with a div, and then what we're going to do is go to that first div, and we're going to change the layout to something like that, and I'm going to change the width to 70% in the first column, and then 30% for the second column. Right, so there we have our layout. This is the option. So let's make that font weight a little bit darker, and what we'll also do then is under each item is we'll just leave a bit of size, some spacing, and let's make that 10 pixels so there's a little space. Or if we don't want to do it that way, what we can do is in padding is just make padding of 15 pixels all round, and to differentiate between each item, let's give that a border at the bottom. Let's make the width 2 pixels. Let's make it solid, and let's make the color DDD. So there we have that around the bottom, and we can see that it's pulling through the information. And then under product options, let's make that a little bit standing out a bit more. So we'll make that 100% wide. We'll go to the typography and we'll center that. Then under the size and spacing, let's give that also a 15 pixel all round spacing. And the difference here now is that we're going to add a background color here, which will be relatively dark, and then we'll change the text, the color of the text then to white, and the font size will bump that up. So there we have our heading product options, and then we have the different product options falling under that. There's our featured image, which we haven't added, but we will. And let's just add some space below that. So under size and spacing, we'll make that 20 pixels. And then we have the price. So let's just put the price, let's wrap that price item in a div. And then let's move the product price into that div as well. And let's take that and let's do that. We'll make that 100% wide. And what we can do is we can either move that to the center, or we can do something like that. So we have the price, that is the price, and then let's also give that 15 pixels all round. Right, and what we can do is just take the word price and let's just change that font. So there we have the price, and here we have the product options and each option with its price, and there we have our form. So let's save that, and if we head over now to our new products, and we're just going to open that in a new tab, and we go and view, that has saved. So if you find that it's not pulling through, head back to admin. Let's try that again. And then just up the priority here from 0 to 1. Just gives it a higher priority than the other templates for posts, and now you'll see that it loads. So there we have it. Let's add an image. We'll set the featured image. Let's make it that one. We'll update. And now when we refresh, you'll see that we have our image and we have the product options. So that's great. So before we start testing our form, let's add that form at the bottom of the post, so that as we update the post information, we can see if that does reflect accurately in the form. So to do that, we head over to our advanced custom fields, and now we're going to head over to the sub navigation of forms, and we're going to add a new form. So we'll add new, and we'll call this new products form, and let's call that new products form. The field group is going to be new products, and the action is going to be a post action, and it will be to update the post. So let's publish that. Once published, we'll now have access to load. So load the values, yes, and we'll say all the values, and we'll head over to save, and we'll say save all the values in the ACF fields and update. So now we've created our form. Simply copy the shortcode. You can copy either one of those. And now we're going to head back to our Oxygen template. And what we're going to do now is we're now going to add that form shortcode at below the other information, the product information and the form on the page. Oxygen is loaded, so I'm going to open the structure panel. I'm going to add a new section, and in that section I'm going to add a shortcode. So head over to WordPress, shortcode, and we're just going to paste the shortcode value in there. And then what I'm going to do is head over to size and spacing and give that a width of 100% so that it fits nicely on the page, and then we're going to save. Now normally what you want to do here is take this section with the product information and only have that available to admins so that general browsers don't see it. So what we'll do then is we'll head over to the conditions and just set the user role equal to, in our case, administrator, or you could just say for anybody who's logged in. Either way, it's up to you. So there we have the form at the bottom of our page, and if I head back to the product and I refresh that page, you'll see now that the form appears below. So what we want to do now is be able to update this information and have the form information change. So the first thing I'm going to check though is if I add a new row here and I call this option 2, and this is the description, and we have that in place, and I save, and does that in fact update the post? And yes, it does. So that is working. So now we have to head over to the snippets and start linking our information from advanced custom fields to our form. Right, what's important when we do that is to get the form ID. So if we're here, I'm going to go to Fluent Forms and I'm going to get the custom, make sure that I have the right ID, and the ID for this form is ID number 4. Then we're going to head over to snippets, and I'm not going to retype everything. So what we'll do is we'll start with rendering the name, the product name, and then we'll go through each one of these functions. So now I'm going to add a new snippet, and we'll call this new products snippets, and I'm going to paste that in. Now the first thing that you'll see here is that the snippet checks to get the form ID, and if it's not equal to the ID of the form we want, it'll just return the normal data. So we need to make sure that that is on ID form number 4 so that we target the right form. Then it says now we have this helper that checks the attribute's name, and in this case it's product name. So when I go to forms, we'll go to edit, and now I must make sure that here where I have product name, that under advanced options, that value there is the same as the value that I'm going to input here, which it is. Then what we're going to do now is get the custom field. So in our case, we now go over to our custom fields, and we're going to go over to the field groups, and what I'm going to do is go over to new products, and you'll see that when I hover I get this copy code. So what's great now is that I have this add-on loaded in my browser for advanced custom fields, so it will allow me to toggle the advanced custom field settings on and off, and by doing it with that extension it'll actually give me the code. So if I wanted to get the code for just the field product name, I would simply click on copy code, head over to the snippet, and now to make sure that I have the right code, I can simply paste in that snippet, and you'll see that it pulls through all the information that I need for my product name. Now we called it new product name, so I'm going to get rid of that PHP there and that there, and so if the new product name is equal to get field new product name, and what I'm going to do then is just copy that same else, right, so it says here if new product name does exist, I'm not going to echo out, so I'm going to remove that. So now new product name is equal to the new product name. If it doesn't exist, if that field doesn't exist, then use the get the title of the post and use that for the product name. So that will change to new product name as well. So new product name is either equal to the custom field or it will be the title of the post. Now what I must also do is make sure that I copy that information into, or that variable into this array where the information is constructed. So here we have the here we have getting the custom field or using the page title. We no longer need the old one, right? We've replaced that, and we no longer need that. Right, and now what we're saying is that this custom variable is going to be equal to this array, and the array includes the value for the field plus the setting to make the read-only value true so that it can't be edited on the front end. So that will lock that field, prevent it from being editing. And then finally what we do is we set up the data array, and this will then include the information that we entered into custom, and that data that's returned to the form then will ensure that this information is populated in that field. So just to show you how that works, let's save those changes and activate. And now when we head over to our product, and I'm going to refresh the page, you'll see now that first new product is in fact in that field. And if I scroll down here and I say change name and I save that field, you'll see that change name now appears. So we've very effectively now ensured that whatever we entered in this field or the post title is going to be the product name. So that field will never be blank. Now what we're going to do is have a look at the product price. So we've already entered a product price here of 5,000, and at the moment the product price is editable. So let's go and see how we do that. So I'm going to head over to the form settings for the input number, and you'll see it works very similar to what we already have. So if I go over here to my snippet, now we're going to do the snippet for the input number. So the first one was the input text, and now we're looking at the input number. And once again we need to make sure that we target the right form. So we know that it needs to be form number 4, and we need to make sure that we get the right variable in our form. So in our Fluent Form, let's have a look at the product price, and we go to advanced options, and we must make sure that that name attribute is the same. So here we're going for product price. So now we're basically saying target the attribute on the form called product price, and if it's not product price, then just return the data as it is. If it isn't product price, return the data. If it is product price, then we're going to change the data. Now what we look at is the variable. So now we need to get from advanced custom field is what did we call that selling price. So what we do now is we go into advanced custom fields, and it was called new product price. So what I'll do is head back here, and instead of that's the form variable, here we're going to get the field, and we know that it's called new product price. So we simply replace that, and here I'm going to also change that just to show you that this is a pretty new setup. And then here, instead of selling price, we have the new product price. So we've essentially changed that. We're going to get the price from advanced custom fields, and we're going to hit save. And now if I refresh the page, you'll see that the price is now in at 5,000, which is the price that we had here. If I change that, you'll see that that price changes. Right, so the next thing that we need to do is the product options, and to see how those variables will affect the total. So we did create one with a value of 200 Rand for this item 1, and you'll see that the update is working, but the values that are reflected here are not the values that we want, because we want to show option 1, option 2. So we'll head over to our original form, and I'm going to copy the filter for input checkbox, and just copy that, and here we're going to add the filter now for the checkbox. So the first thing, once again, let's make sure that we are on form number 4, and now we once again have a look at targeting the right form fields. So in this case it's going to be product options, and let's just make sure that the name attributes are used. So product options, and then instead of checkbox options that becomes product options. So right, now we know that we're targeting the right field. Now we have a look and see that we need to loop through our repeater. We need to extract the data, and then here we need to build this data array that's going to be used then to populate that field. So to show you how we can do that, if I go into the field group, you'll see that when I hover over, because of this add-on, I can simply say copy code with subfields. I can then head back to my snippet, and I'm going to add this below that one so you can just have a look and see how this all comes together. So there I've copied that snippet in, and to make sure there's no errors, we're going to take out that first PHP, and we're just going to delete that last question. Right, so now let's have a look and see what we've got. So we're going to use this information because it obviously has the names of the correct fields as we've used them in the repeater on the form. But what we need to do is include this information. So I'm just going to copy that, and that goes in just before the end while field. So what I'll do then is after that end if. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're going to build the array. So the first thing we do is we loop through the different fields, and we're not going to be echoing anything out, so I'm going to just comment those out. And what I'm going to do now is use these values when building the array. So we know that we have the new option name, which will be the option title, so we replace the option title. Then we have the new option price, so there we put in the price, and then we have the calculation value. So just to see how this works in relation to the actual form, if I head over here to Fluent Forms, you'll see that there we have the these are the option there's the option values, right? So you see you've got the item 1, and then we've got the calculation value. So very quickly, this is the calculation value. Here is the label. So this would be the label, and this would be the normal value that would be captured. But we also now have the calc value, which is added in addition to the normal label and the normal value. So now that we've built that array, we can remove that. Right, so we've pretty much now built the array to capture the information from our advanced custom fields. There's just one small thing to have a look at here, and because we already have a value in our field, which is item number 1, and we don't want to include that in our data, we can unset that here by removing that value from the list of options. So if I wasn't to include this line of code here, then you will see that when I look at my form here, you will see that it would include the options, but it would also include item number 1. So this might be useful if you have a standard item that will be across the board. So maybe you want to include a standard item that is included on everything. So standard item 1, so that must appear on every single form, and that is the value, and let's show the values, and we'll save the form. So now what happens is that when you're looking at the form, that value will be included in every single form, and it's standard item 1. Right, so there's standard item 1, and maybe you want to give that a value here of say 500, and we change that to 500, and we save the form, And now you'll see that on every single form that we use, or where this is used, it will automatically have that value of 500, and only option 1, option 2 will change. To show you how that works, I'm going to add a new row here, and I'm going to say option 3 is the option, and we'll enter that, and now you'll see that option 3 has been added, but we still have we also then have that original standard item. So if you have something you want to be visible on every single form and then the options, that's how you can do it. If you don't, however, want that to be visible, then it's just a case of coming in and we'll save those changes, and now you'll see that that value has been unset from the array, so it's no longer available. And there we have our various options, and you'll see that the total changes in accordance with what we're clicking here. So that's how easy it is then to link the advanced custom fields to the Fluent form. Then we'll head over to the next page. Now we haven't created our feedback form correctly, so the reply to the feedback form, or the form that goes to the customer. So under form settings, I'm going to head over to email notifications, and you'll see there is an admin email, so let's just click on that, and in this case we'll let's make this the customer notification. So I'm just going to add another notification here, and we'll call that customer, and we'll select a field because it's going to go to their email address, and then we'll just call this product inquiry, and we'll then look at product name, and over here we'll go hi, and we'll say first name, your inquiry, because we want to capture all those details in the form. And now what we need to do is just include all the data. So under here, under input options, you'll see that there is one here called all data, so that'll be the entire form. And then we'll go website link, so if they want to go back to the page they can, and then we'll go and have a look at the URL for that particular post. So there we have embedded post page title, there we have the permalink. So now we're going to embed the post permalink, and let's save that notification. Right, and it's active. So now when I go to my form, and we'll refresh the page. Right, so there we have first new product. So let's go to changed title. So now we've checked that that is working. To change title, we're going to add option 2 and option 3. Then we'll go to the next page and we'll enter the details, and we'll check back to the message. We'll submit the form, and then we'll just have a view of that email. So when we view that email now, you'll see that there's the change title for the form. There are the 2 items that we selected, and there is the total price, various other information, and then a link back to that particular website page. So that's how easy it is to set up. And what we can do to edit the product then is we can also edit here in the back end as a normal post. So let's just edit that. So there we have our first new product, and also coming in here you can also add an option 4 and a new option, and then of course if we update that and we view the new product, then you'll see that the option for is available and is automatically added. If we wanted to add a new post, that was something that we can also do quite easily. So we just head back to the back end and we'll head over here to new products and we'll add a new product. And we can publish that without adding any information. And maybe what we want to do is set the featured image before we go to the front end, and we'll update. And now what we'll do is we'll go and view the new product. So here we have the new product, and you'll see we have no product options. So we have a product price, so we enter the product price and that immediately comes up, and now we're going to add the options. So this will be option 1, description, and the option price. And let's just add a second row to description. Right, and we submit that and immediately it's available, and as I tick you'll see that the total gets updated. I head over to the next page, enter my details, put in a message, I submit the form, I view the form, and there we have the repeater values transferred. Only the values selected will appear in my form and the form comes through. So that's how easy it is then to create the setup, so that whatever you enter into your advanced custom fields is automatically then transferred through to a feedback form. So I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching.